No fare, no ride, get off my bus. The driver's voice thundered over the hiss of the doors, his hand already yanking the lever to close them. The elderly woman stood frozen on the steps, her frail hands clutching nothing but air, face flushing red as every passenger stared. Carla's heart slammed against her ribs. She could feel the crumpled $5 bill in her pocket, the last of their money meant for milk and bread, a giant tonight. But watching this stranger get humiliated, left on a dark Georgetown curb like she was nothing, Carla lunged forward, jamming her sneaker between the closing doors. "Hey, wait," she shouted, voice cracking. The driver glared. "Kid, move your foot or I'm calling the cops." Carla didn't move. Her fingers shook as she pulled out the bill and coins, every last cent, and shoved them into the fare box with a loud clatter. "That's for her," she said, chin high, staring him down. "Now let her on." The old woman turned, eyes wide with shock and something deeper, something that looked almost like recognition. The doors hissed open again. And in that split second, as their eyes locked, neither of them knew they'd just changed both their lives forever. Before we continue, I want to speak to you for a moment. If stories like this remind you that kindness still exists, if they make you feel something real in a world that's getting louder and colder, then I'd love to have you here with us. This channel isn't just videos, it's a tiny corner of the internet where good people come together, where we believe in second chances, in hope, and in humanity. And right now you're early. You're part of the very first people building this family with me. So if you want to grow with us, if you want more stories that touch your heart, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, it supports the channel more than you know. And it tells me that there are still people out there who believe in kindness just as much as I do. If you have subscribed to this channel, I can officially say welcome to the family. In Southeast DC, hope didn't come easy. It came in crumpled $5 bills folded into the pocket of a 14-year-old girl who prayed every night that tomorrow would be kinder than today. Carla Rajan knew the math by heart. Rent was late, again. The fridge held half a carton of milk, 3 eggs, and a single slice of cheese curling at the edges. Giant Food was running a 2-for-1 on bread, but even that required bus fare both ways and enough left over to actually buy something. That $5 in her pocket, earned from sneaking extra dusting shifts at the Whitmore mansion after school, was supposed to be their lifeline. Milk for cereal. Bread for peanut butter sandwiches. Maybe, if the stars aligned, a cheap pack of ramen to stretch through the weekend. Her mom, Maya, had come home the night before with fresh bruises on her knees and a limp she tried to hide. "Slipped on their damn marble again," she'd muttered, swallowing ibuprofen dry because water was free and pride was cheaper. The Whitmores didn't care that Maya had cleaned their Georgetown brownstone spotless for 8 years. They cared that she'd missed one smudge on a baseboard during last week's gala prep, so they docked 2 hours' pay without a second thought. 2 hours that could have bought groceries. 2 hours that might have kept the lights on past the 15th. "We'll figure it out, baby," Maya had whispered, kissing Carla's forehead before collapsing on the couch that doubled as her bed. Reagans always do. But Carla wasn't so sure anymore. Some nights she lay awake listening to her mom cry quietly in the dark, pretending she was asleep. Some mornings she skipped breakfast so Maya wouldn't notice how little was left. That $5 wasn't just money. It was the thin line between making it through today and having nothing for tomorrow. Across the river, in a world of private drivers and scheduled everything, Cynthia Blackwell was running late. The founder and CEO of Blackwell Tech rarely took meetings herself anymore, but this one mattered. A new partnership with a startup focused on bridging the digital divide in underserved DC neighborhoods, an initiative close to her heart since the civil rights days. She'd been in the back of her black Mercedes S-Class, reviewing notes on her tablet, when the car suddenly lost power on Wisconsin Avenue in Georgetown. A soft thud, a warning light on the dash, and then silence. "Engine failure," her driver, Marcus, had said grimly after popping the hood. "I've called the mechanic. They'll be here in 20, maybe 30 minutes with traffic." 20 minutes Cynthia didn't have. "I'll take the bus," she announced, already stepping out. "Union Station isn't far from the office. Keep me posted on the car." "Ma'am, you don't have to," Marcus started. "I'll be fine," she cut in, smoothing her wool coat. In her rush to grab her tablet and briefing folder, she left her purse on the seat. Wallet, phone, keys, everything. She didn't notice until she was halfway to the bus stop, the fall chill biting through her coat and the weight of the forgotten bag suddenly registering like a punch to the gut. By the time the W4 pulled up, Dusk had fallen hard over Georgetown, streetlights flickering on against the rain-slicked pavement. Cynthia climbed the steps, digging into empty pockets, realization hitting her like ice water. No wallet. No fare, no ride, get off my bus. Earl Jenkins' voice cracked like a whip, his hand already on the door lever. Cynthia froze on the bottom step, cheeks burning. She, billionaire, philanthropist, the woman who'd built an empire from nothing, was about to be stranded on a Georgetown curb because she'd forgotten her purse in a broken-down Mercedes. Passengers stared. Some looked away. In D.C., embarrassment was a private sport. Carla Rajan sat 3 rows back, clutching her mom's folded work uniform in a giant food bag, that precious $5 burning a hole in her pocket. She saw the old woman's humiliation. Saw the way her hands shook. Saw the same defeated slump her mom wore when the Whitmores treated her like furniture. Something in Carla snapped. Hey, wait. Her voice rang out before she could second-guess it. She shoved past seats and backpacks, jamming her sneaker between the closing doors. Kid, move your foot. Earl barked. Carla didn't move. She pulled out the $5 bill and every quarter she had, climbed the steps, and let them clatter into the fare box like defiance. That's for both of us, she said, staring Earl down. He glared, then grunted and waved them in. Carla turned to the woman still clinging to the rail. Come on, ma'am. I got you. The woman looked up, green eyes wide with shock and gratitude, and took Carla's hand. Thank you, she whispered, voice trembling. You have no idea what this means. They settled into seats midway back as the bus lurched forward, Georgetown's warm lights fading behind them. And in that moment, with rain streaking the windows and 2 worlds colliding over $5 and a forgotten purse, neither of them knew that a broken-down Mercedes and a teenage girl's last dollar had just rewritten both their futures. The bus hissed to a stop deep in Anacostia, where the streetlights flickered like they were on their last breath and the air smelled of fried food from corner carryouts and wet asphalt. Carla stood up, slinging the giant food bag over her shoulder. This is us, she said quietly, glancing at Cynthia. You sure you good waiting at the station alone? It gets rough after dark. Dealers, fights, not the safest spot for anybody, especially, she trailed off, not wanting to say especially for someone who looks like they don't belong. Cynthia hesitated, peering out the grimy window at the dimly lit row houses and groups of young guys huddled under a storefront awning. The confidence she'd shown when talking about the March on Washington had faded again, replaced by that lost, uncertain look. I suppose you're right, Cynthia admitted, gripping her coat tighter. If it's not too much trouble. It's no trouble, Carla said firmly, pulling the cord. The bell dinged and they stepped off into the chilly night. The walk to Berry Farm was short but felt longer under the weight of silence between them. Carla kept her pace slow, matching Cynthia's careful steps. Every crack in the sidewalk, every passing car with bass thumping, reminded Carla how different this world was from the manicured streets they'd left behind. Their building loomed ahead, 3 stories of peeling paint and rusted railings, laundry hanging from a few windows like surrender flags. The stairwell smelled of old cooking grease and bleach. Carla went first, listening to Cynthia's labored breathing behind her. 3rd floor, Carla said apologetically. Elevator's been broke since Juneteenth. Cynthia managed a small smile. I could use the exercise. Inside apartment 3C, the place was small but proud. Floors swept spotless, a crocheted blanket folded neatly on the couch, family photos on the wall, Grandma Lena in her marching hat, Maya holding baby Carla at the National Mall, a faded picture of Carla's dad in his army uniform before he walked out for good. The radiator clanked but gave off little heat. Make yourself at home, Carla said, flicking on the single overhead light. I'll put some water on for tea or cocoa, whatever we got. Cynthia eased onto the couch, taking in the details most people missed. The stack of envelopes on the side table marked urgent in red, the fridge covered in giant food coupons clipped with magnets, the way every inch of space served double duty. She saw survival wrapped in dignity. Carla bustled in the tiny kitchen, filling a chipped mug. We got the off-brand cocoa. It's not fancy, but it's warm. Warm sounds perfect, Cynthia replied softly. They sat, and the conversation started slow. School for Carla, the changing seasons for Cynthia, but it deepened fast. Carla talked about track practice at Bellew High, how running made her feel free even when everything else felt heavy. Cynthia listened like every word mattered. You remind me of someone, Cynthia said eventually, eyes on the locket Carla still wore. Your grandmother, Lena. She had that same fire. Carla's chest tightened. You really think this is fate or something? Before Cynthia could answer, keys rattled in the lock. Maya Rajan pushed through the door, moving like every step cost her. Her cleaning uniform was wrinkled, her braids fraying from a long day, and she leaned hard on the frame, favoring her swollen ankle. Carla, baby, grab the ice pack from the freezer. She stopped dead, eyes landing on Cynthia. Exhaustion turned to wariness in a heartbeat. Who's this? Mom, it's okay, Carla said quickly, jumping up to take Maya's heavy tote bag. This is Cynthia. Her car broke down, then she forgot her purse and the bus driver was being a total jerk. I paid her fare. And Mom, she knew Grandma Lena. From the march. Maya's guarded expression softened, just a fraction. She knew that look people got when they talked about her mother, it usually meant respect. She sized Cynthia up, the quality coat despite the mud, the refined posture even when tired. Mrs. Cynthia? Maya asked, limping forward. You alright? You need me to call somebody? Cynthia stood. Please don't trouble yourself. Your daughter was kind enough to offer a safe place to wait. I've imposed terribly already. Maya waved it off, though pain flashed across her face as she lowered into a chair. Ain't no imposition if Carla brought you. She's got her grandma's heart, too big for her own good sometimes. She managed a tired smile. I'm Maya. Sit please. You hungry? We got eggs, maybe some cheese. Cynthia started to refuse, then saw the near-empty fridge when Maya opened it. She saw Maya pause too long, shoulders sagging at the sight. Eggs sound wonderful, Cynthia said gently. They ate scrambled eggs on mismatched plates, the only sound forks scraping and the radiator clanking. Maya loosened up, sharing stories about Grandma Lena, how she'd organized buses from DC churches to the march, how she never let fear stop her. She pulled a scared white girl out of a crowd surge that day, Maya said, pride in her voice. Said the girl reminded her of her own daughters. Never knew what happened to her after. Cynthia's fork stilled. She opened her mouth to speak when, boom, boom, boom. 3 knocks rattled the door like thunder, hard enough to shake the walls. Maya's face went ash gray. She gripped the table edge. Don't answer it, Carla whispered, voice trembling. I have to, Maya breathed, pushing up with a wince. If I don't, he'll use his key. She cracked the door, keeping the chain on. Vince Harlan stood there, big gut straining his stained jacket, keys dangling from his meaty fist, smirk already in place. Maya, rent's late. Again. His voice carried into the room like he owned the air itself. 500 short. You know what time it is. Vince, please, Maya pleaded quietly. I got docked this week, ankles messed up from work. I pick up extra shifts Saturday, I'll have it Monday, I swear. Monday ain't Friday, he sneered, shoving a folded paper through the crack. This here's your 3-day notice. Pay up or Thursday morning, sheriff's putting your junk on the curb. All of it. Carla's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. Vince leaned in, lowering his voice but not enough. Maybe stop taking in strays if you can't afford the rent. His gaze flicked past Maya to Cynthia on the couch. Got money for extra mouths but not for me? Pathetic. Maya's hand shook on the door. From the couch, Cynthia rose slowly. Her voice cut through the room, quiet, precise, and cold as steel. Vincent Harlan. Vince froze, eyes narrowing as he tried to place the face in the dim light. Cynthia stepped forward, every trace of frailty gone. Her green eyes locked on him like a predator sighting prey. You always did have a mouth bigger than your spine, she said softly. Tell me, Vincent, do you still forge maintenance invoices like you did 23 years ago? Or have you found new ways to steal from people who can't fight back? Vince's smirk vanished. The color drained from his face. Cynthia smiled, small, sharp, and utterly terrifying. We'll talk soon. Morning came too fast in Berry Farm, the kind of gray DC dawn that seeped through thin curtains and made everything feel heavier. The radiator had given up sometime around 4 a.m., leaving the apartment icy. Carla woke first, curled on the floor with a blanket she'd insisted Cynthia take for the couch. She listened to her mom's quiet winces as Maya tried to stand, ankle still swollen purple from yesterday's slip. Maya was already at the counter, forcing her foot into a worn sneaker, biting her lip to keep from crying out. Her uniform was pressed. Somehow, even on the worst days she managed that, but her face told the real story: pain, exhaustion, and the quiet terror of knowing one more missed shift could cost them everything. "Mom, you can't go in like this," Carla whispered, sitting up. "Call out. Just one day." Maya shook her head, tying her braids back with trembling fingers. "Whitmore's got a big brunch today, some lobbyist thing. If I don't show, that's my job. And if that goes," she didn't finish. She didn't need to. Thursday's eviction notice was still taped to the wall like a death sentence. Cynthia stirred on the couch, sitting up slowly. The frailty from last night had vanished. In its place was a quiet steel that made the small room feel smaller. "Good morning," she said, voice clear and steady. She took in Maya's limp, Carla's worried eyes, the way both of them moved like they were bracing for the next blow. "You're not going to work today, Maya?" Maya let out a tired laugh. "Ma'am, Cynthia, I appreciate what Carla did last night, truly. But I don't know who you think you called, and I live in the real world. Real world says if you don't work, you don't eat. I gotta catch the 7:15. Cynthia stood, smoothing her wrinkled coat like it was armor. "Give me 20 minutes. Maya hesitated, glancing at the clock. 20 minutes could mean the difference between keeping her job and losing it. But something in Cynthia's eyes, calm, certain, unbreakable, made her nod. 20 minutes, Maya agreed. "Then I'm gone." They waited in thick silence. Carla paced by the window, watching the street below wake up. Kids heading to school, old men smoking on stoops, the usual rhythm of survival. Maya checked her watch every 30 seconds. Cynthia sat perfectly still, hands folded, staring at the eviction notice like she was memorizing it. At minute 18 the air changed. A low rumble rolled through the floorboards, growing into a deep, powerful purr. Carla rushed to the window, pressing her face to the glass. "Mom, come look." Maya joined her, eyes widening. Rolling down their narrow, pothole-riddled street was a convoy straight out of a movie, 3 gleaming black Escalades, windows tinted darker than night, flanking a long-stretch limousine with subtle diplomatic plates. They moved in perfect sync, double parking right in front of the building and blocking the whole block. Doors opened and suited men stepped out, big, professional, scanning the area like Secret Service. Neighbors poured onto stoops. Phones came out. In Berry Farm, black SUVs like that usually meant feds or worse. "Oh my God," Maya breathed, stepping back. "Cynthia, what did you do? Who's coming?" Cynthia joined them at the window, a small smile playing on her lips. "My ride," she said simply. A firm, respectful knock sounded, 3 taps, not the pounding from last night. Carla opened the door before Maya could stop her. The man in the hallway looked like he'd been carved from granite. Tall, broad, immaculate suit, earpiece visible. Marcus. Behind him, 2 more security men stood at attention. "Mrs. Blackwell," Marcus said, voice thick with relief as his eyes found Cynthia. He bowed his head slightly. "We've been worried sick. The board's in a panic. Your daughter's already on a plane from California." Cynthia stepped forward, patting his arm like an old friend. "I took a little walk, Marcus. It got extended." Her gaze swept to Maya and Carla, softening. "These women saved me. They are to be treated as family. Is that clear?" "Crystal, ma'am," Marcus replied without hesitation. Maya's mouth opened, then closed. Carla's eyes went wide as saucers. "Blackwell?" Maya whispered. "As in, Blackwell Tech?" "The Blackwell Foundation that funds half the community centers in Southeast." Cynthia turned to them, the mask fully gone now. She wasn't the confused old woman anymore. She was power in human form. "Yes," she said calmly. "Cynthia Blackwell, founder and CEO." She glanced at Maya's swollen ankle, then at the eviction notice still on the wall. "And you, Maya Rajan, are no longer employed by the Whitmores. Their firm depends on my investments, and I have never liked bullies." Maya swayed. Carla grabbed her hand. "Get your things," Cynthia continued gently. "Both of you. We're leaving." Vince Harlan appeared at the bottom of the stairs as they descended, greasy jacket, smirk ready, until he saw the convoy. Saw Marcus. Saw Cynthia being helped into the limo by white-gloved hands. His face went slack. Maya froze on the steps, but Cynthia lowered the tinted window just enough. "We'll be in touch about the lease, Mr. Harlan," she said coolly. "And those creative accounting habits of yours." Vince looked like he might faint. Maya and Carla climbed into the limo, leather seats softer than anything they'd ever touched, warm air scented faintly with citrus, a mini screen glowing softly. The door closed with a solid, reassuring thud, sealing out the cold, the noise, the fear. As the convoy pulled away, smooth, silent, gliding over potholes like they didn't exist, Maya finally found her voice. "Why?" she asked, barely above a whisper. "Why us?" Cynthia looked at them both, eyes shining. "Because every year," she began, "I do this. I leave everything behind, no purse, no phone, no name, and I ride the buses, walk the streets. I test the city. I look for kindness that asks for nothing in return. Proof that what your grandmother fought for still lives in people." She leaned forward. "Most years I find nothing. People look away. Drivers shut doors. But yesterday, you, Carla, gave your last $5 to a stranger. You brought me home. You gave me your jacket, your cocoa, your trust." Cynthia's voice softened. "And then I learned your grandmother was Lena Rajan, the woman who saved my life in '63. The one who pulled me from that crowd and told me, 'Don't be afraid, child. We're all in this together.'" She sat back, gazing out as they crossed the Anacostia River, leaving Southeast behind. "This wasn't chance," she said quietly. "This was her. Sending you to me. Or me to you." Carla felt tears prick her eyes. Maya squeezed her hand so hard it hurt. The limo sped toward Potomac, toward gates that were about to open on a world neither of them had ever dreamed of. And for the first time in years, tomorrow didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a promise. The gates to Cynthia Blackwell's Potomac estate swung open like the entrance to another world. Towering oaks lined the long cobblestone drive, their leaves ablaze of autumn red and gold. Fountains danced in the morning light, and the mansion itself rose ahead, limestone walls draped in ivy, windows tall enough to swallow the sky. To Carla, it looked like the White House had a richer, quieter cousin. The limo glided to a stop under a grand portico. White-gloved staff appeared instantly, opening doors with practiced grace. Marcus offered a steady arm to Cynthia, then to Maya, who hesitated on the steps, staring like she'd stepped into a dream she was afraid to wake from. "Welcome home," Cynthia said softly, though it wasn't their home, not yet. "First things first, health." A man in a crisp tweed jacket waited in the marble foyer, medical bag in hand. "Dr. Reynolds," Cynthia introduced. "The best orthopedic specialist in the district. He's going to look at that ankle, Maya, and anything else that's been hurting." Maya started to protest. "I'm fine, really, just a sprain," but the pain in her eyes betrayed her. Dr. Reynolds led her to a sunlit room off the main hall, all soft chairs and warm light. Carla hovered nearby, twisting her hands, while Cynthia guided her toward the kitchen with a gentle touch. "Come, child. Let the doctor work. Pierre makes the best pancakes in Maryland." The kitchen was bigger than their entire apartment. Copper pots gleaming from the ceiling, islands of polished marble, chefs moving like a quiet orchestra. Plates appeared as if by magic. Fluffy pancakes stacked high, crispy bacon, fresh berries glistening like jewels, steaming hot chocolate with real whipped cream. Carla ate slowly at first, then faster, realizing no one was counting bites or dollars. Half an hour later, Maya returned on crutches, her ankle wrapped in a sleek brace, face pale but relieved. Dr. Reynolds followed, speaking quietly to Cynthia. "Acute sprain on top of chronic issues," he said. "Stress fractures in both feet, early arthritis in the knees, lower back strain that's been building for years. She's been lifting, twisting on her feet 12 hours a day." Maya looked away, ashamed. "If she keeps going like this," the doctor continued, "she won't be walking in 5 years, let alone working." Carla's fork clattered to her plate. Cynthia's expression hardened, not anger at Maya, but at a system that let this happen. She dismissed the doctor with thanks, then turned to Maya. "Eat," she said gently, pushing a fresh plate forward. "We have things to discuss." Maya sat gingerly, picking at her food. "Cynthia. Mrs. Blackwell. I can't even begin to thank you. But I gotta figure out work. The Whitmores." "The Whitmores are no longer your concern," Cynthia cut in, voice firm but kind. "I meant what I said. Their investment firm survives on Blackwell Capital. One call, and Beatrice Whitmore will be looking for new clients, and a new maid." Maya stared. "I don't need another housekeeper," Cynthia continued. "I need someone who understands what it really takes to keep a house running. Someone who knows the difference between clean and truly clean. Someone who sees people, the staff, the vendors, the community. She leaned forward. My foundation, the Blackwell Equity Fund, pours millions into Black-owned businesses across DC, startups, shops, tech incubators and wards that banks forgot. We're expanding and I need a director of operations. Someone to oversee grants, mentor entrepreneurs, make sure the money lands where it matters. Maya's mouth opened but no sound came. Starting salary $120,000, Cynthia said. Full benefits. Housing here on the estate until you're ready for your own place. And you sit when you need to, no more mopping marble floors on a broken ankle. The number hit Maya like a wave. She covered her mouth, tears spilling over. I don't have a degree, she whispered. You have 20 years in the trenches, Cynthia countered. That's worth more than any diploma. Say yes, Maya. Maya looked at Carla, at the hot chocolate mustache on her daughter's lip, at the way she was finally eating without worry, and nodded through sobs. Yes. Oh God, yes. Cynthia smiled, then stood. Come. Let me show you what you'll be part of. She led them through the estate, sun-drenched libraries lined with books on civil rights and tech innovation, a garden where roses still bloomed despite the chill, a foundation wing with photos of ribbon cuttings in Anacostia and Shaw. Young entrepreneurs shaking Cynthia's hand. Kids coding on new laptops. Businesses with signs that read funded by Blackwell Equity. This all started because of one day, Cynthia said quietly as they paused in a glass-walled office overlooking the Potomac. August 28, 1963. I was 18, terrified, clutching a sign I'd painted myself. The crowd surged near the reflecting pool, panic everywhere. I fell. People were trampling. She closed her eyes. Then a woman grabbed my arm. Strong. Come. Hold on, baby girl, she said. We ain't leaving nobody behind. She pulled me up, kept me safe until it passed. Her name was Lena Rajan. Maya gasped. Carla's hand flew to her locket. I never forgot her, Cynthia continued. When I built Blackwell Tech, I made a promise. Use the money to lift up the communities that lifted me. To fight the way she taught me, quietly, fiercely, together. They walked to a small study lined with old photos. Cynthia pulled a leather-bound album from a shelf, flipping pages with careful fingers. I hired investigators years ago, she said. Wanted to find her. Thank her. She stopped on a grainy black and white image, the March on Washington, thousands packed tight. In the foreground, a young white woman, clearly Cynthia, clinging to a determined black woman in a Sunday hat. Lena Rajan. Another photo, the same two women months later at a smaller rally in D.C., heads bent together over flyers. She didn't just save me that day, Cynthia whispered. She mentored me. Taught me how to organize, how to speak up when no one listens. Lena was one of the key coordinators for DC's buses to the march, quietly behind the scenes. The history books forgot her name, but I never did. Maya's tears fell freely now. When she got sick, cancer late stages, I found out, Cynthia continued, voice thick. I paid her medical bills. Anonymously. Every treatment, every hospital stay. I owed her my life. I couldn't save hers, but I could ease the burden on her family. Carla looked at her mom, stunned. All those years we thought strangers were helping. It was you? Cynthia nodded. I lost track after Lena passed. Until yesterday. Until a girl with her eyes and her heart paid my bus fare with her last $5. She closed the album gently. Your grandmother didn't just save me once, Cynthia said. She built me. And now, her daughter and granddaughter are going to help me build something bigger. Maya pulled Cynthia into a fierce hug, crutches clattering to the floor. Carla joined them, 3 generations of strength wrapped together in a room full of history. Outside, the Potomac sparkled under the rising sun. And for the first time, the future didn't feel like something to survive. It felt like something to claim. 6 months later, spring had finally pushed its way into D.C., cherry blossoms exploding pink along the tidal basin and softening even the hardest corners of the city. Maya Rajan no longer limped. She walked with purpose through the newly renovated halls of what used to be their old Berry Farm building. Fresh paint, working elevators, heat that actually worked, playground equipment gleaming where cracked concrete once ruled. As director of the Blackwell Equity Fund, she'd overseen every detail. Fair rent increases frozen for existing tenants, community spaces on the ground floor, a job training center in the basement. And yes, she personally handed Vince Harlan his termination papers the day the police escorted him out for years of embezzlement and fraud. "You're done stealing from people who have nothing left to give," she told him, voice steady, the same tone Grandma Lena used when standing up to segregationists. Vince had blustered, threatened lawsuits, but one look from Cynthia's legal team shut him up for good. He left with a box of his things and a permanent ban from any property the Blackwell Group touched. Carla, now 15, had traded Blue High's metal detectors for the tree-lined campus of Sidwell Friends. Track medals hung in her new bedroom, spikes flying on a real rubber track, coaches who saw potential instead of problems. She still wore Grandma Lena's locket every day, but now it rested against private school blazers instead of hoodies 2 sizes too big. And every Sunday evening, no matter the schedule, they gathered at the Potomac estate for dinner. The long mahogany table in Cynthia's dining room had become sacred ground. Crystal glasses, linen napkins, food prepared by Pierre that tasted like love and money combined. Maya, Carla, and Cynthia, 3 women bound by something deeper than gratitude now. On this particular Sunday, the windows were open to let in the warm May air. Fried chicken, Maya's recipe, Pierre insisted on learning it, collards with just the right amount of vinegar, cornbread that melted in your mouth, and sweet tea strong enough to stand a spoon in. They laughed about small things. Carla's first track meet win, Maya turning down a speaking gig because she didn't feel like wearing heels, Cynthia's latest boardroom showdown where she'd quoted Dr. King and made a room full of millionaires squirm. Then, as dessert, peach cobbler with vanilla ice cream was served. Cynthia grew quiet. She reached into a folder beside her plate and pulled out a thin envelope, sealed with the emblem of a private genetics lab. "I've been waiting for the right moment," she said, voice softer than usual. "I didn't want to overwhelm you. But some truths, they don't wait." Maya set her spoon down. Carla leaned forward. Cynthia slid the envelope across the table. "After everything we learned about Lena, her mentoring me, the medical bills, I couldn't shake the feeling that our connection went deeper. So I had a quiet DNA test done. From a photo in the locket, and a sample I provided." Maya's hand trembled as she opened it. Carla read over her shoulder. The results were printed in clear, clinical black and white. Probability of half-sibling relationship, 99.98%. Lena Rajan and Cynthia Blackwell share a common parent. Maya's breath caught. Carla's eyes went wide. Cynthia's voice was thick with emotion. "My father, Charles Blackwell, wasn't always the man the history books remember. In the 1940s, before he married my mother, before the company, before the fortune, he had an affair. A brief one. With a woman in D.C., a black woman named Evelyn Rajan. Lena's mother." She looked at them, tears shining. "Lena was my half-sister. She never knew. Her mother took the secret to her grave to protect her child from the scandal, the danger, the world as it was then. But Lena, she carried that strength anyway. She fought anyway. She saved me anyway." Maya covered her mouth, tears streaming. "All these years," Cynthia whispered, "I've been searching for family I didn't know I had. And there you were, on a bus, with $5 and more heart than anyone I've ever met." Carla reached for Cynthia's hand, then her mom's. 3 hands linked across generations, across bloodlines that had finally found their way home. "Does this mean?" Maya started, barely able to say it. Cynthia nodded. "You and Carla are my direct heirs. A full share of the Blackwell Trust, hundreds of millions set aside in your names, untouchable, growing. The lawyers are finalizing everything. This isn't charity. This isn't repayment." She squeezed their hands tighter. "This is family. This is legacy reclaimed." Later, as the sun dipped low over the Potomac, Carla slipped outside to the garden. She pulled a single shiny quarter from her pocket, the one she'd dropped in the fare box that fateful day, the one she'd kept as a reminder. She flipped it into the air, watched it spin and catch the light, then caught it in her palm. "That's..." She smiled, slipping it back into her pocket, right next to Grandma Lena's locket. One random act of kindness on a broken-down day. One forgotten purse. One $5 lifeline. And a secret half a century old, finally brought into the light. The Reagans weren't just surviving anymore. They were home. And the story of a maid's daughter and a billionaire wasn't just a miracle. It was blood. It was destiny. It was legacy reborn. What will you rate this story from 0 to 10? And what part of the world are you watching from? Comment your country below. Let's build a global community rooted in kindness and second chances. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. Your support brings us closer to our 1K subscriber milestone and inspires us to keep creating more emotional stories of resilience, healing, and Black excellence. Thank you for being part of our journey. Your presence matters more than you know. Hope to see you again.